All signs are pointing to this, as the frustration in Phoenix has been overboiling and bubbling this season with the roster construction, with the players on this team, and everything in general. It just has not worked, as the record has clearly been disastrous for this team. So, with Matt Ishbia and James Jones getting into this season, one key player is to look at this season and to honestly discuss his future, as a lot of fans in this fan base are ready to move off of him. So, we're going to look at the potential ways that we could break off away with this player and what is the best overall direction for this Phoenix Suns team. We'll be doing all of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Velez, and I want to give you guys a huge shout out. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the videos. Like I said, busy over the weekend, so we don't really get videos up on the weekend, but we do have this video for you guys today. We will be getting these videos out this week for you guys, jam-packed with the season coming closer to an end. Things are going to be more clear about this Phoenix Suns team, so if you want to make sure to stay up to date on everything revolving around it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let us know your thoughts down below on the comment section on what your thoughts are in this video. Without further ado, let's dive in and let's get into the video at hand. Make sure to grab that snack. And like I said, with the Phoenix Suns team, there has been a lot of frustration with this squad, as we have seen the Suns get their worst record so far. They have 35 wins currently right now. They are going to fail to get 40 wins, and they have their worst record since the bubble, which is very, very shocking, obviously, for all of us, as we've obviously seen Devin and Kevin and all these changes come through in the ascension with this roster. We expected to be in a brighter spot than this, and in just, a quick turnaround of 4 years, we are right back into the other spot here. So not that great for the Suns, and you could argue what the core construct of all that is. Is it the coaching problems? Is it the front office? Is it the players? All of that jazz. I do believe that it's a combination of all, but one key player and one key point that a lot of people keep pinning to and keep looking at is Bradley Beal, as Bradley Beal unfortunately has just not been a great fit for this Phoenix Suns team since he has arrived, and for the reasons that the Suns had to give up a lot of draft capital, the fact that they gave up players in Landry Shamet and Chris Paul, who are still playing at least a little bit productive in their roles right now. Chris Paul being absolutely phenomenal for the Spurs and what he did with Victor Wembanyama, and with Bradley Beal not being the greatest either, with his albatross of a contract, making $50 million, having that no trade clause and complicating things for the Phoenix Suns. But not only that, but the team being in the second apron, having restrictions to be doing trades with already having these complicated things is not great. But not to mention that Bradley Beal also has a little bit of an injury problem, and that has limited to his production in these games for the Phoenix Suns, but also has limited his production for other teams to really view him and for him to kind of give himself a bigger spotlight to get him to a new place or a new scenery to expand his role. And if we want to look at his stats on the season, we've seen he's averaging right around 17 points, 3.4 rebounds, 3.6 assists on 50% shooting, 40% from three-point range, right? Like I mentioned, at 31 years old, Bradley Beal is supposed to be this second, third star. He's making $50 million, ladies and gentlemen. That is not a light amount in the slightest. If you want to look at some top contracts around the league, right? You look at Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they're both making $50 million as well. And you look at their production from the superstars of Devin and Kevin, you see Devin Booker every single night since Kevin Durant has been hurt, absolutely balling out for this Suns team, going out, dropping 30, 40 left and right, trying to put this team on his back, trying to will them into these games to compete and try to get them some play in hopes. But unfortunately, it's just not enough because there's not enough offense without Kevin Durant. And you see even Kevin Durant doing that as well with him and Devin Booker. But with Bradley Beal here, it just hasn't been working. And even with Bradley Beal coming into this lineup, replacing Kevin Durant, it has not worked. I said I would like to see Bradley Beal kind of bring that spark kind of being inserted into this lineup, but we have really yet to see it. As we've seen, obviously, his 2 games since he's returned versus the Celtics, he shot 0% from the field, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block, had 1 point from the free throw line. And then versus the New York Knicks, finished with 16 points, 0 for 5 from 3 once again, so 0 for 8 from 3 since returned, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks, helping out on the defensive side at least. But Beal, right when inserted into the game, missed some layups key early on in this Knicks squad, and all 16 of those points came in the second half. Now, Beal said obviously felt a lot better, night and day better, after scoring all of his 16 points in the second half, and the Suns lost to the Knicks in his second game back from a hamstring injury. But he said he's quit thinking about it. He's just going. He was able to do that, thankfully, in the second half. But unfortunately, it hasn't been enough for Suns team is. Like I mentioned, the season is getting closer and closer to an end. We already know this record is the worst record since they've had since the bubble, and because of that, they're in the probability of not making the play-in, most likely the playoffs. You know that the Mavericks and the Kings are very close to the Phoenix Suns in the standings, and at this point, the Phoenix Suns will have to win out and pray that the Kings and the Mavericks lose some key games here to even have a chance to make the play-in. And that's a chance to make the play-in. That's not even a guarantee that they make the play-in, and they still would have to win 2 key games, hoping with Kevin Durant to come back to even make the playoffs. So a lot of asking for this team, and unfortunately, they've dug themselves into this own hole themselves. Not the players themselves, but obviously the front office, the coaching with these rotations, with this roster construction. It really has limited the production for this team. Like I mentioned, as Bradley Beal is a player making $50 million. And as we know, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, they're both making $50 million. They have way better stats than Bradley Beal does right here for this team. Not to mention that, yes, they've had some injuries, but have been able to stay consistently more healthy than Bradley Beal this season. And they've also proven to be able to win without Bradley Beal on the court, as I believe they are 13-3 on the season when it's just them two together with no Bradley Beal. So obviously, this Suns team would like to move off of Bradley Beal. And that's the main point of this, right? All signs are pointing that if the Phoenix Suns want to see some success in some regard, they're going to have to move off Bradley Beal. But this is the hard part because we mentioned Bradley Beal has this contract of $50 million, and it's a no trade clause, so he gets to decide where he wants to go, and he's a player making $50 million. So what team is going to want to trade for a $53 million player? Well, that comes to the question where we get to here into discussing the 3 options the Phoenix Suns have. They could trade him, they could waive and stretch him, or they could pursue a buyout to walk people through what's actually possible. And this article was presented by Gerald, and we got some, propositions of our own going in on that. So I want to know your thoughts down below in the comment section on what you think the Phoenix Suns should do. And let's get into the discussion of are we screwed and kind of discussing these breakdowns. So like I mentioned in this here, the 3 options are that the Suns could trade him, waive and stretch him, or they could pursue the buyout. Now, the trade is obviously one we've kind of predicted already. The $53 million contract would have to be on the table, and with the Suns dropping hopefully below into the first apron by waiving Cody Martin and Vasilij Micic, the Suns would have more flexibility to aggregate contracts, to get even on another bad contract to get Bradley Beal off their team, or even more, find a team that is willing to trade 2 or 3 pieces for Bradley Beal. Like we mentioned, there are going to be teams falling out of this Cooper flag race that are going to want to compete. Teams that might be in the middle of the pack that still want to stay there. A team that I think he would kind of fit into is Atlanta if they look to move off of Trae Young and still be competitive in that Eastern Conference in the middle of the pack. Kind of towards the middle of the plane to sell games, but not be towards the bottom. I think that would be a good path for them. I'll bet that's something to discuss in a future video, something like that. But Bradley Beal could be potentially traded. He could also be stretched and waived, which we look from Evan Cedery would look something like this, where he would have to agree to a buyout of $40 million, and then the Suns would pay him 19, 18, and then I believe 18 again over the next couple years. Something similar that they did with guys in Nazir Little and EJ Liddell this season when they failed to trade both of those players, or failed to trade Nazir Little at the free agency period this season when they were looking to get some more roster spots open. So that's something to keep an eye on for the Suns as well. If they realistically can't find a trade partner for Bradley Beal, the potential of waiving and stretching his contract out and paying that $18 million over the next couple seasons could be something to look into for them, as it could potentially get Bradley Beal's contract off. And even though you're still paying $40 million, 19, 19, 19 the next couple of seasons, at least you have the flexibility to add some more pieces to build around Devin Booker and potentially Kevin Durant if he stays, even if Kevin Durant doesn't stay, Devin Booker. And then lastly, the last option is just to buy him outright, what would ultimately just be taking Bradley Beal's contract of the last of the $110 million that he has left, and Matt Ishbia, just giving it to him, paying him $110 million. You usually don't see that on a 2-year deal. You would usually see it on a 1-year deal. So something that I think would probably be the last half of this. If the Suns realistically can't do anything, this would be their last-ditch effort, would be paying him the $110 million straight up. But this would let Bradley Beal enter free agency and ultimately get to decide where he would want to play basketball on a cheaper contract, one that would be more valuable for the team, but also more valuable for him because he obviously got his big payday from getting bought out from the Suns. Suns. Now, like I said, I think that's probably the last thing that they would rather do. Obviously, the Suns' main goal is going to be to try to trade Bradley Beal. They want to be able to get something in return at least, regardless if they have to send off multiple picks, multiple other assets with Bradley Beal in a trade. That's what their main goal is going to be, to move off of this contract. But if they're unable to move off of this contract, they would potentially look to stretch and waive him or buy out him in general, I do believe. A lot of fans have kind of posed this outrage about it. I do think that they realize that this is one of the worst contracts, if not, in my opinion, I do think it is the worst contract in the NBA at this moment, now that Ben Simmons has gotten bought out. Not that it's a slight on Bradley Beal, because he's still an effective player and still can be in the NBA, and I've said that multiple times in these videos. But for this Phoenix Suns team, and for the role, and for the money he's getting paid, and for all of that, he is not worth $50 million. Bradley Beal could be worth, 15 to $20 million. I could not argue that, that's for sure, but he is definitely not worth the $50 million. And the team obviously could kind of value that and respect that and maybe take on the $50 million if they have to, but if not, and he does go that buyout route, or if the Suns do go that buyout route, it could be a little bit easier for him to get what he wants and being able to be on a contending team and helping them win in a role where he could be successful. Because once again, in Phoenix, it's not going to work with him and Kevin, and I don't think it's going to work ultimately with him and Devin, just them two either, because I don't think that the Suns would be able to get what they needed back in those trades to build around those two. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, what you guys think. Like I said, Suns season's kind of coming closer to an end. A little bit of a longer video going in all this Bradley Beal stuff, but I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown and all the news that we kind of talked about on all of this stuff. Like I said, let me know your thoughts. We will be back with the live streams this week. Like I said, I was busy last week, but we'll be back with the live stream. So Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, we will be live. And if you want to check out some of my other Suns content as well, you can find out some reading on Last Word and on Bright Side of the Sun. And you can also check me out on the Suns Planet Pod, where we recently did an episode with K. Ray. That's right, Kevin Ray. Absolutely fantastic to have him on. Had a little bit of an interview, and if you guys want to see that, asking him some questions and seeing a little bit in depth on what K. Ray thinks about the Suns, you should definitely check that out as well on Suns Planet Pod. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. I really do appreciate all your guys' support, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, everyone.